Last year, my wife and I decided to plan a trip for Italy and fulfill a lifelong dream. We spent months planning and in the end had a great trip. Here is our 10-day itinerary of Italy, along with tips and tricks we learned along the way. Let me know in the comments any travel tips you might have, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get started. For more videos from our Italy trip, check out the Italy playlist in the comments. Day 1 was travel. The flight from Los Angeles to Rome is 12 hours. When you add in a 2-hour layover and the 9-hour time change, you lose about 25 hours. We left at 7 a.m. and arrived at 8 a.m. the next day in Rome, Italy. Tip number 1, buy a hotel airline package online to save money. In fact, the deal was so good, when we went up north, we were able to keep our room in Rome, so we didn't have to pack everything for the overnight trip. Day 2 can be insane. It can also be rough. Depends on you. If you were able to sleep on the plane in the last 24 hours, you might be okay. But it's 8 a.m. and you're ready to go. Drop your bags off at the hotel and start exploring the city. We picked a hotel in the city center, about a block from Trevi Fountain, and spent the day walking around. And this brings us to tip number 2. Use ATMs to get euros. You're going to see places in the airports, train stations, and on most street corners to exchange money for euros. If you go to an ATM from a major bank, you can pull money out with the least amount of fees. We had one right outside of our hotel. Walking around Rome the first day was so surreal. Here you are walking down an alley, and you turn the corner, and then boom, you're looking at the Pantheon. This, I think, was the most amazing moment of my entire trip. It is the oldest continually used building in the world, and it's free to visit. Just get there early to avoid the lines. Also, there's a hole in the roof to let in natural light, and if you're lucky enough to be there when it rains, you get to see that. It was beautiful. We had trouble sleeping the first night because of the jet lag, but we found Rome very safe at night. We walked around and saw some great sights. This is the Trevi Fountain at midnight. As you can see, Rome never shuts down. Day 3, we planned to get out of Rome. We took the train to Florence, which is about an hour and 10 minutes away. And not at all a beautiful like city. Rome. Tip number 3 is don't be afraid to take the train. Traveling through a country where you don't speak the language can be scary. But we found that everybody at the train station spoke some English. You can also use their app or their website to buy tickets ahead of time. We found that buying tickets ahead of time worked for us, but the return ticket we would buy when we were ready to go, because we never knew how long we would stay in a town. Day 4 was one of my personal favorites. After looking at several cars, we chose one and decided to drive around to some villages not accessible by train. In order to drive in Italy, you do need an international driver's permit. I will leave a link in the comments on how to get an international permit in the United States. After researching on YouTube and online, we decided to visit the beautiful Etruscan town of Petigliano. Be warned, however, that most smaller towns have an afternoon siesta period where everything shuts down for 2 to 3 hours. Next, we drove on up to Montepulciano and stayed in an agriturismo, Italy's version of an Airbnb. Most of these are farms or vineyards. It was an amazing stay. Day 5 had us waking up in a Tuscan vineyard. We headed to Montepulciano to visit this beautiful ancient walled city. In larger cities, you have a better chance of finding somebody who speaks English. But in the smaller towns, it gets more difficult. So tip number 5, learn some basic Italian words and phrases. A little does go a long way. When that doesn't work, you can always use your phone or smile politely and point at something that you want. The rest of the day was spent driving down back to Rome through this beautiful country. Day 6 was spent walking around Rome, taking in the sights. It would be the first of 3 days we planned just to do this. There is so much to see and so much to do. That being said, the one thing you will find lacking in Rome, and pretty much all of Italy, is public restrooms. So here is tip number 6. There are cafes all over the place that sell amazing coffee. An espresso or cafe costs €1. If you have to go to the restroom, go by a cafe and use theirs. Tip number 7 is one that I knew about and I ignored and I regretted it instantly. And that is, avoid restaurants with pictures on the menus or located near tourist spots. We went to a place right near the Pantheon. Big pictures on the menus, but it was late, so we ate there. Worst pizza of my life. So yeah, go off the beaten path, go one alley left or right, and find the quieter places. That's where you'll find the great food. Day 7 brought rain that had been promised for several days. But luckily, we planned to be inside most of the day. This was the day we'd visit the Vatican. This was also the first day that the trip started taking a toll. Day 7, we were wiped. I remember walking around this day like a zombie. It was so beautiful and amazing, but we were so tired. Tip 8 is visit St. Peter's Basilica early. It is free to visit the basilica, but lines do get long. You can purchase front of the line passes, but if you go early enough, there's really no need. Also, it's closed for Mass. We got there around 8 o'clock, toured the basilica, and then walked over for our 11 o'clock reservation for the Vatican Museum. Again, there are front of the line passes you can purchase. I do not recommend them. The museum has timed entry tickets, so we got there at 11 o'clock for our 11 o'clock ticket and got right in. There are always lines for security, and you can't get around those. After the Vatican, we crossed the Tiber River to visit the neighborhood of Trastevere. where, believe it or not, we actually found a great Mexican restaurant. Day 8 started off at the ruins of the Pompey Theater in Rome, where Caesar was assassinated. At the time, it was under construction, but now it is open for visitors. It is also a cat sanctuary. This was also the day we visited the Colosseum. If you are planning on visiting the Colosseum or any major historical site that requires tickets, I recommend buying them online ahead of time before you even leave your trip, because they will sell out. And don't waste your money on the front of the line tickets. Tickets are sold at timed intervals, so you arrive at your time and you get in. There's always a line for security, and that can't be avoided. Guided tours are also available for an additional charge. I recommend Rick Steves' audio tours. I'll put a link in the comments. Day 9 was spent seeing anything we didn't see the past 8 days. It was also a day for souvenir shopping, getting some last-minute photos, which brings us to our final tip, which may seem kind of weird coming from me since you're watching this, but that is, put the camera down. Experience all this wonderful country has to offer, and enjoy your trip. And of course, day 10, going home. Well, thank you so much for watching. If I missed any great tips, please put them in the comments. Or if you have any questions about planning your trip, let me know. Thanks for watching.